right, today we're going to talk to you in a little detail, keeping it as simple as possible, how we do our fermentation process, specifically in this case for cucumbers. And so we are going to keep it very simple. We're going to be using, in this example, the ball fermentation weights and the vented lids from Ball. And there will be a link where you can find these on Amazon down in the description. We're going to be using a wide mouth jar. We have a little less than 2 tablespoons of sea salt. Now, there's a lot of variance when you look on the internet as to how much salt you put in your ferment, and it's typically somewhere between 1 and 3 tablespoons per quart. But the advice tends to vary with environments. For example, how warm is your internal temperature of your home consistently, where these pickles are going to be kept. And so remember, the purpose of the salt is ideally to minimize or eliminate the bad bacteria, any of the dangerous bacteria. So any of the microbes and organisms that would like to eat the food you're putting in the jar or you, we want to minimize those. And that's the purpose of the salt. So the higher the risk, the more salt you should use. If your vegetables have not been freshly picked, if your vegetables have not been kept at a safe temperature, if your vegetables have been more exposed to pests, if they've not been thoroughly washed, all of those create risk. So more salt, more risk, all right? So we're also going to be using dill because I want a little bit of a dill flavor, pickling salt, and we're going to add fresh picked grape leaves. The grape leaves add tannins and keep our fermented product crisp. So this is the last ferment that we did. We shared the video on Facebook, I believe. We're actually going to show you exactly how we did this minus the ramps. So this one included ramps. And you can include garlic, ramps, onions, whatever you want to add to this ferment. Keep it simple, learn and grow. But most importantly, learn so you can be prepared in any circumstance to preserve your food and keep it safe. So just for starters, we're going to spear our pickles. And I like my spears small and petite. And then we're going to take off the ends. It's been my experience that removing the ends allows the fermentation process to enter the fibers more quickly, and the tannins from the grape leaves will infiltrate that and they will help keep your pickles crisper. So I want some nice petite spears. They're fairly thin, and we want enough to pack a quart jar. So I've speared my cucumbers and I've packed those into the jar as tightly as I can. And what I've done is I dissolved my sea salt into water in advance. And a little bit of that sea salt still in there. I've added my pickling spice, not a lot. So literally of the pickling spice, I'm gonna add a little more of the dill. Just a few shakes. All I wanna do is add enough flavor to make this interesting. I do want to make sure all of that salt is dissolved and dispersed. So if I have to remix that and stir that a couple times, I want to make sure that salt is all throughout that and is permeating my mix. Now, to make sure all my spice is down in there, we're going to add our last grape leaf. So I've got 4 small grape leaves in here in all. Those are packed throughout the cucumbers. And just going to wipe off the rim of the jar. Now we want to weight this. So we're going to use the spring weight from Ball. You can use a glass weight or any weighting. And basically we just want to keep our product below the surface. And then we're going to apply our Ball weighted lid. And we're actually going to go ahead and tighten that down snugly. And it's okay to do that with these jars because they have the vented top. So there's actually a vented top that's going to allow the gases to escape as this ferments. So we've added the salt, We've added the distilled water, dissolving the salt thoroughly. We've added our pickling spice and our grape leaves, and we've packed this. We're going to give that a little bit of a shake. We want to make sure those spices are throughout that. So bring it a little closer so you can see that's packed in there pretty tightly. We've got our spices in there, and we're going to leave this sit. And in about 3 days, it will begin the heavy fermentation. It'll actually begin to taste like a pickle at that point. So that's exactly what we did to ferment the last batch of pickles that we shared with you. This is the fermentation process that we feel works best. So again, there's 2 tablespoons, a little less in my case. Our house is cool, we keep it cool. The cucumbers were picked right off the vine, quickly washed, and have been kept in a safe zone at all times. So my risk is minimal. And so I would prefer to minimize the amount of salt for the sake of flavor and palatability. And so we're just going to wipe that. We're going to set that in a place on the counter where it's not going to be in direct sunlight. And we're going to wait 3 to 7 days for that to ferment. And then we can refrigerate it to slow the fermentation down, and we can store those in the refrigerator for months. You can store them in a cool, dry cellar for months. And so this is an excellent way for you to preserve some of the produce from your garden. Very low cost, very low effort, very effective, and gut healthy. This fermentation turned out fantastic, and listen to this crisp. So thanks for watching. Happy fermenting.